What if the very things you keep giving away are the ones silently destroying your peace? Have you ever felt that in trying to please others, you've slowly lost pieces of yourself? The truth is, there are 7 things you must never sacrifice, because once they're gone, they're almost impossible to get back. Things you should never sacrifice for. In a world constantly demanding compromise, it's easy to forget that there are things we should never sacrifice, no matter the situation or the person involved. We live in a time of instant gratification, where people expect our attention, our time, and even our sense of self. But some things, once lost, are almost impossible to regain, and even when we try, the cost of reclaiming them can leave us scarred, exhausted, and forever changed. Stoic wisdom teaches us that true freedom lies in recognizing what we cannot afford to give away, what makes us who we are. The Stoics, including philosophers like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus, warned against the dangers of sacrificing our integrity, time, and peace for others. In this guide, we'll explore the 7 key elements you should never sacrifice for anyone and the timeless philosophy that can help you protect them. So, before you make another compromise, take a moment to ask yourself, what are you truly willing to lose, and what are you determined to guard with every fiber of your being? 1. Your sense of self-respect. Self-respect is the cornerstone of a Stoic life. It's the unwavering belief that your worth is not defined by others, but by the integrity with which you live. The Stoics understood that without self-respect, we cannot achieve true peace, happiness, or fulfillment. But in a world where external validation is constantly sought, it's easy to lose sight of this essential quality. When we allow others to dictate our worth, we give away the very thing that anchors us. There was a time in my life when I completely sacrificed my self-respect for the sake of pleasing others. A few years ago, I found myself in a toxic relationship, convinced that if I gave enough of myself, my time, my energy, my values, everything would work out. I compromised my needs and beliefs to maintain the connection, hoping that this would make the other person happy. But as the weeks turned into months, I began to feel drained, diminished, and disconnected from who I was. I was losing touch with my core values. And in the end, the relationship didn't work out, and I was left with nothing but regret and self-doubt. The moment I realized I could no longer compromise, my self-respect was the turning point in my life. I started to reconnect with my principles, asking myself what is truly important to me. What values must I uphold in order to maintain my self-respect? Through this introspection, I found that my worth was never tied to anyone else's approval. It was an internal standard that no one could touch. The Stoics teach us that our sense of self-respect comes from how we live according to our own values, not by seeking validation from others. To lose your self-respect is to lose your very identity. If we constantly give away our sense of self to appease others, we risk becoming strangers to ourselves. So protect your self-respect fiercely. It is the bedrock of your integrity and peace of mind. 2. Your time. One of the most profound teachings of Stoicism is the recognition that time is finite and precious. The Stoics were keenly aware of life's brevity and sought to live every moment with purpose. Marcus Aurelius in his meditations often reminds us that each moment is an opportunity to live virtuously. Time is not something we can ever get back, so how we spend it matters immensely. I learned the importance of guarding my time after a period in my life when I was constantly available to others, even at the expense of my own growth. At one point, I was juggling multiple obligations, work, family, friends, and somehow I ended up spending my time doing things that didn't align with my purpose. I would agree to commitments out of guilt, cancel my own plans to meet someone else's needs, and generally allow myself to be pulled in every direction. It wasn't long before I felt exhausted, disconnected, and unfulfilled. But when I started reading more deeply into Stoic philosophy, I realized the importance of deliberate time management. Time is one of the most precious commodities we have. In the words of Epictetus, Don't waste your time on what doesn't matter. This shift in perspective allowed me to reframe how I approached commitments. I became more intentional with my time, learning to say no when necessary, prioritizing activities that contributed to my growth, and cutting out distractions. Protect your time as if it were a treasure, because it isn't. Every moment spent is a moment of your life that will never come back. The Stoic wisdom is clear. Time is the most valuable resource we have, and how we use it determines the quality of our lives. So guard it, use it wisely, and never sacrifice it for things or people that don't align with your deepest values. 3. Your boundaries. Boundaries are not just limits. They are declarations of what you value most. Setting boundaries is a form of self-respect and a crucial element in maintaining peace of mind. The Stoics believed in living virtuously, but they also understood the importance of surrounding themselves with people who respected their space and their values. For much of my life, I struggled with setting boundaries. I was afraid of disappointing others, so I would often say yes to requests, even when it meant stretching myself too thin. I didn't want to be seen as selfish or unkind, but this constant sacrifice of my personal boundaries led to burnout and frustration. I felt overwhelmed and disconnected, and I began to lose sight of my own needs and priorities. The turning point came when I realized that saying yes to everything was actually a way of saying no to myself. It was a form of self-neglect. I started reading the works of Seneca and Epictetus, who both emphasized the importance of setting limits in order to protect one's inner peace. I began to practice saying no without guilt, being clear about my needs, and respecting my own time and energy. This didn't mean I was shutting people out, but rather that I was preserving the space I needed to maintain my sense of self. Setting boundaries is a practice of self-love. It's a recognition that your time, energy, and peace are precious and must be protected. Stoic philosophy teaches us that we have the power to decide what enters our lives. Never let anyone violate your boundaries for the sake of their own convenience. If you sacrifice your boundaries, you sacrifice your peace, your energy, and your well-being. 4. Your integrity. At the heart of Stoicism is the idea of virtue, living according to the highest moral standards regardless of external pressures. Integrity is the foundation of virtue. It's the unwavering commitment to living authentically with honesty and honor even when it's difficult. I remember a time when I was tempted to compromise my integrity in the workplace. There was a situation where a small lie would have made things easier. I could have covered up a mistake or blamed someone else to avoid the consequences. But deep down, I knew that doing so would erode my sense of self-worth. Instead of taking the easy way out, I decided to face the truth, admit my mistake, and take responsibility. It was uncomfortable, but it was the right thing to do. The Stoics teach us that integrity is non-negotiable. It is the measure of our character. To compromise our integrity, even in small ways, is to undermine our own sense of virtue. Marcus Aurelius said, "The greatest wealth is to live content with little." In other words, living with integrity, no matter the cost, is a far richer life than one built on deceit. 5. Your peace of mind. The Stoics believe that external events and people's behavior are beyond our control. The only thing we can truly control is how we respond to them. Peace of mind is not about controlling the world around us, but about cultivating inner calm despite external chaos. I learned the value of peace of mind when I found myself constantly reacting to the stress and drama in other people's lives. I would absorb their anxiety, becoming unsettled and upset by their problems. This drained my energy and made me feel constantly on edge. It wasn't until I started practicing Stoic detachment that I realized peace of mind isn't found in fixing the world. It's found in how we manage our responses to it. 6. Your purpose. Purpose is the force that drives us forward, giving our lives meaning and direction. Without purpose, life can feel aimless and hollow. The Stoics believe that we must align our actions with our highest calling, living in accordance with our true nature. In my life, I spent years chasing external goals, money, status, recognition, thinking that these would bring me happiness and fulfillment. But as I achieved these goals, I still felt unfulfilled. I realized I had been pursuing someone else's idea of success, not my own. That was when I reconnected with my true purpose, and it completely shifted my outlook on life. Stoicism teaches that we must live according to our highest values and purpose. Do not allow anyone to persuade you to abandon your calling for short-term gain. Your purpose is your guiding star, and it is yours to follow. 7. Your authenticity. Living authentically is the key to a life of integrity and peace. The Stoics believed in being true to oneself, not pretending to be someone you are not to fit in with others. Authenticity means living in accordance with your values and beliefs without fear of judgment or rejection. I've learned the importance of authenticity the hard way. There was a period in my life when I tried to be everything for everyone. I wore different masks depending on the situation, constantly adjusting my persona to gain approval. This led to deep feelings of emptiness and disconnection. Over time, I realized that being true to myself was the only path to genuine happiness. I started to embrace my flaws, my values, and my unique perspective, and everything in my life began to feel more aligned. The Stoics remind us that pretending to be something we're not is an illusion. Authenticity is the key to true happiness. Don't sacrifice who you truly are in order to meet the expectations of others. The real power lies in being unapologetically yourself. These 7 elements, self-respect, time, boundaries, integrity, peace of mind, and purpose, are the pillars of a meaningful life. Protecting them is not just a matter of personal well-being. It is an act of courage, a declaration that your values, your peace, and your purpose are non-negotiable. It is a matter of living with integrity and purpose. The Stoics teach us that by staying true to our values, we can rise above the challenges of life and live with clarity and courage. If you're ready to take control of your life, align with your purpose, and protect the things that truly matter, subscribe to Stoic Thrive and hit the bell icon. Join a community committed to growth, resilience, and wisdom. Never compromise on your core values. Your future self will thank you.